Hello, everyone. This is Kris Fleming with episode 18 of Lender Chat presented by KFP Investors. We would love to talk to you about your financing solutions for your investment real estate. We are a licensed mortgage brokerage working only with investment real estate and working in 38 states. Before I introduce you to today's esteemed guest, I want to tell you our disclaimer. As always, we are not attorneys, CPAs, or certified financial planners. We do not give legal, tax, economic, or investment advice. We disclaim all liability, and you should always consult with your own counsel, accountant, and financial advisors as to legal, tax, economic, and investment advice, which is particularly relevant with what we're going to talk about today. I'm very excited to introduce on Lender Chat Rashad Jones-Jennings, a friend of mine. He is the operator of PostPro Capital Group, and he's got some developing projects and experience underway, and he's going to tell us about what he's got going on.
Oh, yeah. No, thanks for having me, Kris. So just to give a good background on myself for those of you who don't know me or haven't met me yet, my name is Rashad Jones-Jennings. I'm a retired professional basketball player. I played about 8 years professional, had a short stop with the Philadelphia 76ers, played in Europe, Asia, South America, pretty much all over the world. My entire 20s, I was just traveling the world playing basketball. And I was forced to retire at the age of 30 due to injury and just figuring out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. For some reason, I chose, real estate. I was always reading real estate books, even while I was still playing. And it just gravitated me towards, going into real estate. It's funny because when I retired, I started going into the office and I started out as a realtor. And I didn't do my first deal for 6 months. And the crazy part about that, I was passionate to making real estate work. I was turning down coaching jobs. Like I was getting offered coaching jobs
Really?
to, yes. And you got to think, I literally was not making any money. And to turn down the job to make money in something that I was passionate about, to stick with real estate says a lot.
Great.
So yeah, and I just stuck with it because now I look back and I say, if I would have gave up, I wouldn't be developing these communities that I'm developing now. Before I go on and tell you a little bit more about my story, I'll tell you a quick funny story. One of my first deals that I got as a realtor was a commercial deal. Now, mind you, I hadn't done a residential deal yet. So a commercial deal just falls in my lap off a relationship. And I take it to my broker and I'm like, what do I do? He told me to refer it out. And me being me, I'm like, you know what? I'm always thinking 8 moves down the board. I'm like, if I refer this out, I would always have to refer it out. I would never learn it. So for me, I just started Googling. I Google what I should be paid on the commission. I Google how to handle a commercial transaction. And the guy is funny. The guy did not only he not only bought one space, he bought two spaces. So my first deal was a commercial deal that I just figured out along the way. So now that gave me the confidence to do the investing side. That gave me the confidence to do the commercial side. So I retired at the age of 30, going into the office, then do my first deal for 6 months. I was a realtor for my first 3 years. I started, and then I tried to be a broker for 2 years. I figured out that wasn't for me. Then I started flipping and building single houses. And once I built a
Okay.
cluster of single houses, I was like, I could build a community of these. So now that I'm in the development space, I love it here because I've seen different levels. And this is where I feel like my genius is. I'm more passionate about. I could work 7 days a week and then not feel like work because to me, I'm just putting a puzzle together. I'm going through a mission. So that's a little bit about me. And right now we're looking at $60 million in development. I learned this game from ground zero, reading books, going to conferences. And I always tell people, because even when I was a realtor and I was going to these conferences, I was literally spending my last to go to conferences. And everybody was like, why, how much it cost? I was like, oh, it costs $3,000. I wouldn't do that. And, of course you would, like, you have to invest in yourself.
Yeah.
So I kind of do everything: paid education, free education, coaching. I vet my coaches and everything like that. But I feel like if I can cut down the time and accelerate my learning curve, I think it's well worth it.
I'm with you. I am passionate about investing in ourselves and about education. That's exactly why I started Lender Chat was just to offer that value of people who want to improve their lives and improve their businesses. And I'm constantly coaching folks on how to operate in their zones of genius because we work better, we have improved performance, and we're much more efficient if we operate in our own personal zones of genius and work with people who are operating in their genius. You can't get any greater value, in my opinion, than networking and talking with people who have done what you want to do and have gone where you want to go. That is the greatest value of conferences, I think.
Like I said, we're doing a lot of development these days, and I just actually started a fund to be able to advertise, and raise capital for these deals. Before this, I was always syndicating. I got some of my same investors from the day I started investing back in 2018. When you needed a couple 100,000, that was serviceable. But now the deals are you need a couple million, so now you got to get in different rooms. You got to go to even more conferences. And one of my, I don't want to call it, I want to call it an Achilles heel. It's not natural for me to be talking on stages and public speaking and everything like that. I mean, I've had speaking coaches, but now it's to the point where I got to break out of that because I got to reach a broader audience. So, instead of running away from doing podcasts, I'm running to them now. Like, hey, I want to go talk about what I'm doing. I want to tell my story. And, even speaking engagements, I got invited to speak at a mastermind. And and I'm gonna be honest with you, I looked at that email for a couple of days before I responded because I had stage fright. Like, I know I need to present, but I don't want to present. I ended up finally agreeing. That's for the greater good. I had to getting out my comfort zone.
I think one of the most motivating quotes that I heard someone say, they were speaking to would-be authors, some people who were considering writing books. And I also was just terrified of speaking to people and terrified of just being vulnerable, right? People, outside of my immediate circle of network knowing anything about me. It was just uncomfortable. Famous is not anything I ever wanted to be. But this person said, I wish I could remember her name, but she said, don't hog your story. There are people out there who can benefit from knowing your story. It's not just yours. You have an obligation to share it with the world to help others improve their own lives. And so yeah, that was very eye-opening for me. So I applaud you for taking that approach. Good job. And for those who don't know, Rashad and I met through a mutual friend. For people who know me well, they understand that sports do not actually exist in my planet. So Kristen wind up being friends with Rashad. Well, real estate very much exists. I eat, sleep, and breathe real estate. And so that's how we got connected. And I'm really excited about the project that we're working on together. And I would love for you to tell folks about it.
Oh yeah, so we're working on 18 and a half acres. It's actually a bigger deal than this. So just to give the entire overview, then I'll go to the specific deal. So I have about 40 acres that I control own personally, and I partner with Kris and another guy, Michael Kenner, on another 206 acres to do a master plan community build to rent. That's pretty exciting. And also, I actually went down. I don't know if you all have heard of Serenbe, but that's one of the big master plan communities down a lot of hours south of the Georgia in Chattahoochee Hills. And they've won national awards. You're talking about, I think they got about 14,000 acres and they've only built on 30% of it. It's preserving the farmland and everything. I love the concept. I would always hear about it. And then I went down with my wife and actually experienced it. And I said, okay, I see what all the hype is about. And when I say this, I'm not exaggerating. When you're in Serenbe, it feels like you're disconnected from the world in a good way. I mean, like, it's like serene. It's like natural energy. Like I can't explain it. The food is no preservatives. It's all farm to table. It's holistic. It's, you got green space, you got, yoga, like all the natural things in that community. It's just a whole different, it's like you're on a whole different planet. And if you haven't gone down there, I don't get anything off this, but I definitely recommend Serenbe. But that's one of the master plan communities that we're not saying mirroring it behind, but getting some ideas from it. We were able to go down there and walk it with the investor, the developer of that community. That's actually a 20-year master plan community. And we went down there for a 30-minute meeting, and we just resonated with each other so much. We stayed there for 6 hours. And the only reason it ended at 6 hours is because Mike had to catch a flight. So, I mean, we just really connected. Like, he took us on a tour of the whole grounds.
That's amazing. So what did you do with that inspiration after you went to see it?
Oh, wow. I mean, we're taking pieces away and putting it, in what we're doing. One of the things that stood out that was pointed out, just something as simple as trash pickup. Like, you don't see any
Mhm.
trash cans on the street. Like, they're
Okay.
they're down in the ground, So, they got, yeah, and even like all the, if you're in development, you got to have drains and things like that. So all the rain gardens that they created, when you look at it from the naked eye, you think it's a nice garden, but from a developer's point of view, that's a part of the drainage in the community. Just different things like that. The architecture, they did a lot of Scandinavian architecture, and they got a lot of mixed architecture too. Like they got a Scandinavian wing. They got a New England wing where all the homes are designed in New England architecture. I mean, you'll get a good education going down there. They also have a podcast too. It's something Serenbe. But
Okay.
it was well thought out. It was well thought out. Like you got different. It's like different communities inside of one community because all the houses are built in one architectural style.
Very cool. So with these 40 acres that are part of the bigger, would you say 220 acres?
206 acres.
206 acres. Okay. You may not know this about me, Rashad, but I grew up extremely impoverished and we were homeless and we lived in cars. And then I grew up in foster homes after that. Areas that are economically depressed and somewhat blighted and have food deserts. Those are issues that I'm very passionate about correcting. People shouldn't have a lesser quality of life or a shorter lifespan just because they can't get quality food. So can you tell us more about why you chose this area?
Yeah, so for one, I grew up in this area. I actually grew up on the west side of town. Well, then we were homeless. We got evicted, so we was homeless for a year. My ninth grade year, we was homeless, and we all split up. It's me, my mom, and four sisters. So we all split up. I went to my grandparents' house. My mom went to my aunt's house, and my sister went. They went where they could, fit in. So we was homeless for that ninth grade year. 10th grade, we got back together and we actually moved to Eastdale where I'm doing all this development at, and I'm revitalizing the community that I grew up in. So one of the things, when I retired, and this is another thing that I speak to other athletes about as well that go through the transition, find something that you're equally passionate about. And what I was passionate about was rebuilding my community because, like I said, I played professional basketball for 8 years. So I'm overseas 10 months out of the year and I'm back for the summer. So when I came back in the
Right.
summer and I'm driving through Chattanooga, I'm seeing all this development and I'm like, man, like I got to be a part of this somehow. I didn't know what that meant at the time because mind you, and
Yeah.
this is where I'm a big proponent of access and accessibility because when I was growing up, being a real estate developer wasn't even on the table. We didn't see them.
Mhm.
Nobody talked about it. We lived in the projects and we thought the leasing lady owned the building. That's how disconnected we was from what's really going on. Like we didn't know
Yeah.
anything. So as I'm coming back and I'm seeing all this development, I'm like, man, I gotta be a part of this somehow. And like I said, once I worked my way up in the real estate ranks, and I got the confidence and the knowledge to do a big project like what I'm doing. that's pretty much why I'm doing it. For one, to be an inspiration to the youth, to show them that, hey, this is an option. It's not just rap or play basketball. You have other options, and that's what I do, partnering with the construction youth center, getting those guys out there, mentoring kids, speaking to kids, just being visible, showing them like, hey, this is an option, and
yes, and just having access to quality housing. They have a beautiful community center. And I know that part of your vision is to just continue to increase the access in that area to quality lifestyle, to quality food. I know that you've talked about the farm to table concept in the community that you're developing. You've talked about the organic food, and I've seen the images and the illustrations of the community that you're looking to create. And what a tremendous step forward from when I think back to where I lived as a kid. And I'm just really, really proud of you. I'm proud of you.
no, no, I appreciate that. And it's been a grind, but you got to be headstrong. And I think we all have obstacles, and we all, I don't know if you ever read one of those Goosebump books where depending, you can choose how the book end depending on which page you go to.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that. I think yeah. I think my choices, led me here, because there's been a lot of times I could have went the other way, and I just, stayed the course. So, and I think that's like leading by example, because I know what you're faced with, when you live in a neighborhood like I grew up in. I always say this, if you stay in a hostile environment long enough, you either got to get out or you're going to adapt, because that's a survival skill. You either adapt or you got to get out, and that's why access and exposure comes into play. Me playing sports helped me a lot because it kept me busy, but everybody's not athletic. So how do you keep the normal person busy in that environment? Because we know what idle time, does.
Yes.
So we got to
Yes.
definitely give more options.
Yeah. For sure, everybody is not athletic. I'll tell you a little bit of a funny story. I think it's funny. I laugh at it now. But I remember being about 10 or 11 years old, and my mom's group of coworkers had like a work picnic. And so we were at the park, and there was, kids were playing on the playground, and we were grilling, and everybody brought side dishes. You know how it goes. And there was a softball game. And my mom wanted me to play the softball game because she thought I would just have so much fun. I remember standing there crying my eyes out, saying, "Please don't make me play." I did not want to play the softball at all. I was like, I can't even walk in a straight line and not trip over my own feet. Why do you think I should run? This is a bad idea. So I can't remember if she made me play or not. I do remember begging her, "Please don't make me play." So
Yeah.
sport not for everyone. That would not have been helpful for me.
Right. Now I got you.
So what are your next steps in your project development?
So, well, the next steps, one, we just put in our rezoning application about 6 weeks ago. So I met with the city. This is before I met Mike. I met with the city on my land, and they said I could get around 70 houses on it. And I was going to do a build to sell model. Now, me and Mike partnered up, and with this community, it's probably going to be, more of a build to rent community. And may have some sales. I mean, that's still to be determined, but for the most part, a build to rent community. And so the next step is waiting for that rezoning to come back. If they give us that rezoning, we're going to get way more higher density, and we'll be able to put a mixture of single family homes, townhomes, apartment buildings, all kind of mixed, commercial, everything. And once we connect the communities, I think it'll be a great master plan community. And we still got one more community to go to kind of scout. It's one called Trilith. I think they got their ideas from Serenbe as well. But, just going down there, doing our research, doing our homework, and coming back with ideas, and just try to make that whole area better. And I think once you do that, like Trilith and Serenbe are tourist attractions now. So not only are we providing housing, people are going to want to come from out of town to come and spend money in that community. because you don't see a lot of, agrihoods, around the country, especially of this size, on 200 plus acres.
So for folks who don't know, can you describe to us a little bit more about exactly what an agrihood means? I know we've alluded to it a bit in this conversation. What exactly
Yes.
does that mean?
So when I'm explaining agrihood, I like to keep it simple. It's basically it's short for agriculture. That means we got, we're wildlife, we preserving the trees, we're preserving the land, farm to table. We got farms. Like it's more, how can I explain it? It just got a different feel to it,
Yeah.
building on 30% of the land. Out of the
Mhm.
206 acres, we're not going to build on every inch of that land that we're allowed to. We're preserving the grounds, and we're preserving the natural waterways and things like that. Like we're not disturbing the land to build this as if, any other regular development. So it's more thought out, it's more thoughtful. And so that's what agriculture will be.
You're not going to just clear cut it all and pave it all and then put up buildings that are of the lowest expense that you can find.
No, we're gonna design it to the way the topo is. So on that 206 acres is actually some wetlands on there. So we'll be building around the natural wetlands and everything like that and the natural streams. It backs up to Chickamauga Creek. So we can't build within 25, 30 feet of that. So that'll be where the park will go. So we're going to build according to what the landscape allows us to do instead of disturbing the natural land.
I believe I've seen artist renderings of green spaces with walking trails and community gardens. Also, I'm not sure exactly what the word is, but Mike was explaining to me that there will be areas of the development where farmers lease the land and they grow crops there. And there are shops in the community where the inhabitants, the residents of the community, can eat the food that was grown there in their neighborhood. And how fresh is that? It was picked this morning. You can buy it for dinner tonight. Not to mention their own,
Yeah.
plots where they have kitchen gardens. So that was really impactful to me when I started to understand that. Do I recall correctly too? Bike paths and some portion of the development that has, like I think of retail space and office space on the first level, and then residential space above, so that people can get their hair cut there, they can get their taxes
Yeah.
filed there, they can buy their clothes there, they can without ever having to get into a car.
Right. So it's like that live, work, play field, So you got the live, work, play field, you got the agrihood, you got nature, you got, you're not disturbing the grounds. I mean, it's well thought out, and even
Mhm.
down to leasing land to a farmer so that people in the neighborhood can go, instead of going to the farmer's market, you have the farmer's market right in your backyard. So, it's just a whole different master plan type deal.
Right. And as we continue, as just the human race continue to deal with increased population density and fewer and fewer and fewer natural spaces, being able to integrate that population density with natural space just delights me. So I'm thrilled to be a part of it. Um, do you want to tell us how other people can be a part of it? At this point in the conversation, Rashad and I switched gears to talk more about the investor portion of the project we've been discussing. I have divided that into a separate video for time purposes, and so you'll see that in part 2. Thank you so much.